Dale. Oh,
Recording in
host,
progress.
Joy and Dale say hi.
Say hi.
And joined by 20 other of our co-hosts, our MVP family. Say hi, everybody else.
Hi, everybody else.
There it is. Just a reminder, best way to get a hold of us is through the success community. You can hit us up on LinkedIn, but any questions, concerns, success is the way to go. We can all engage and message there and answer your questions before the meetings, but start there. And if I could get a live slide deck and jump to the next one. Our next call is in 2 weeks on the 15th. It is normally at 1 o'clock. Daylight savings kicks in, I think, before then. And as we were just talking about, you might have a weird scheduling calendar conversion thing, but it's always 1 o'clock central. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Reminder that everyone is invited to participate, share, compare notes, ask questions, share your experiences. We're all in this together. Post your links and your resources in the chat. We'll try to get as much of that put into the slide deck and uploaded. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand and we'll get to you in the order that they're received. And if you want to share, the most important part of this conversation is we are recording. And if we are recording, then we ask that you not be sharing private information, specifically your your production orgs. We don't want to have that on the internet forever. Use a dev org, use a sandbox, what have you. And because it's recorded, let's keep this fun and informal, but professional and positive. And with that, we can jump to the upcoming events that I'm aware of. If anybody's got others, please add. We Dream and Mid-Atlantic Dream, DevOps, and Texas are coming in the next month and a half, 2 months. TDX is next week. What isn't updated in the community site that we need to talk about?
That's solid.
Is that everything?
I don't know if it's everything, but it's solid. Let's see. What else do I got? Connections is in May.
Yep.
Got that.
May, not March, right?
Got it right. And you got DevOps Dreaming, and I'll be at We Dreaming. And see what else yet. I don't know. There's so much.
It's weird that the community site from Trailhead isn't up to date. I don't know if it's just behind or if they've transitioned, but it seems like there's things being posted that aren't in the community events link that we have listed here. So if you have anything, feel free to post it in MVP Office Hours as well, and we'll add them to our list.
Good call, Linda. There are some world tours. If you have the link to that, will you post it, Linda? That'd be great. World tours are a fun place, and they're free. They're free. I posted the link to the community group in the chat. So if you're not part of our little family there, jump in.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I saw a post that Dreamin' in Color, they announced the location June 19th through the 21st. They're going to be in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. They're supposed to tell their speakers this week.
And that sounds amazing. Yeah. So I saw that announced, and wow. So that should be pretty cool.
Cool. All right. I think with that, why don't we jump to the no question list? So I didn't see anything at Success for the last 2 weeks. I think everybody's pretty busy, but having said that, did I miss anything?
Thought I had snoozed a notification. I thought on like the 20th. Hold on.
I know there was something that had like 15 responses and a best answer selected, and I wasn't certain if that was old news or new news.
How to customize the clone button?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't add that, but I don't remember who asked that question.
Marilyn Zimmer.
Yes, and if she joined today, I didn't see yet. We could definitely talk about it in more detail, but I think they covered the majority of the ideas with things like customizable action button and using action layouts and just just using the tooling in place rather than trying to make the clone button itself reconfigured. So it was a pretty good conversation there.
It's one that I know I've seen many times in the community in the past that I'm just gonna post in here for anybody who goes out post-mortem anyway, because I mean, I think every one of us have had it or something very adjacent to it come up, and what's the best way to solve, just given how, the varying levels of customization in each of our orgs. So I think it's a good one for us to just memorialize anyway.
Very smart. So that means the door is open for everyone who joined today. Did we have anything come in? Ooh, saw this Steven. Good call, Adrian.
I don't know. Did we talk about like how we put people in line? Like just like put in the chat, raise your hand with reactions. I don't know if we skipped over there or not. Or we're kind of chaotic today.
Yeah. I didn't see any. I don't see anything.
You all came just to celebrate.
Yeah.
So glad you're here.
So a couple of weeks ago, I brought up my dashboard reporting issue.
Oh, Todd, what do you got?
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Well, I've kind of delegated that responsibility, and it turns out they were adding individuals instead of groups. So they'd given the individual access to the dashboard folders, but not the report folders. Dale, that sounds like I've been there and done that laugh.
Oh yeah, no, I have absolutely done that before, and after God knows how many hours of running through it and like, oh crap, that was me. Yeah.
So we now have groups. We have roles now assigned to those, like they should be.
Good.
Love it
All
when a
is-
best
all is
practice
well.
comes to fruition.
Wasn't too bad once I sat here and stared at it for a minute. It's like, wait, it's got to be a permission problem somewhere.
Mhm.
It always is.
I was surprised the dashboards even ran though myself. But it would
Someone had too much permission. That's what it is.
I guess. So why did the dashboard refresh? Because it was running as?
Yeah. Dashboards
So it was-
give you the view, but not access. Yep.
Gotcha. So the
And-
dashboard was running as another admin, but the user couldn't drill in. That
Well,
makes sense now.
Remember, the dashboard doesn't care who has access to what reports when you're running as. It's where's that person's place in the role hierarchy. Now just go look down, and whoever is consuming the dashboard and the reports, their security applies to that view. It has nothing to do with the level of security and access available to the run as. It's just where are they in the role hierarchy. Now go look down.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it's working now. So all is well on that front.
Now you can find something else to break, right?
I got a whole list.
How is that
Oh,
unlimited edition working?
Come on. Someone else, please have a problem. Like, let's talk about someone else's problem. Todd can't have the whole call. Well, he can.
I don't want the whole call.
I've
Okay.
got a really quick
Don't
one if
you?
anybody's dealt with it. We are looking to find ways to better integrate our mobile and CTI integrations to Salesforce. Obviously, you can build something. Is there some recommended vendors that people have used that they're liking? Other than we're thinking about what's the service tool that does that? Crap, I'm blanking at it. But anyway, vendor wise, has anybody got one that they're using that they like?
Nobody likes any of them.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, if you have someone that you're tolerating, are they workable? Because
You mean for like the phone, CTI meaning phone?
Yeah, so for example, call center integration is what I'm thinking about in the server side. But the idea being that when someone calls our firm, the person who's answering the phone, they want that Salesforce contact to pop to the surface so they can more quickly identify who's calling, how to answer, how to respond. It really is CTI, but we don't want to build our own if there's a good vendor recommendation there. So
8x8. And I say the 8x8 because they seem to be very responsive with we're doing something with a customer and they use them. And so we've had a couple conversations. They're very helpful, very responsive. So I like their customer service.
awesome. All right.
Andrew, you mentioned Natterbox. Who are they? What are they?
Telephony on Salesforce. I don't know if my audio is going to be good though. So I don't know if anyone can hear me.
Yeah,
But
you'd be good.
we don't.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. We don't love. I mean, I don't love them. I don't know. I wouldn't go sell them to a friend, but I also haven't found a better option because we had a requirement. We needed the ability to support a mobile app, so you can pick up on the go, but also through a desktop. with like CTI, just like, Salesforce desktop. So
Yep.
they have that. But like, it's pretty cool because you can build out like full, like the actual like IVR routing all on platform. So like, it's cool, but I don't know that I love them, but I haven't found a better option. So open ideas.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at Natterbox, and it's kind of been our litmus test for everything else. So it's good to hear that someone actually implemented and was kind of seeing the same thing. Thank you for that.
Dilip, you mentioned Five9. I think I've heard of Five9.
Yeah, so we use Five9 as our CTI, and they are good. And also the technical account manager is also good. Like we will have weekly and bi-weekly calls with them, and if any questions we have, and they will always be there. Like they are very like solid, and they will solve our issue, like any issues we are facing. And also, like you mentioned, like we have integration with Salesforce. We have Five9 Engage widget, where whenever our client calls us, the inbound call always picks up the matching phone number in Salesforce and pops up the contact record in Salesforce.
Awesome. Yeah, that's our big driver, is a combination of what you and Andrew both mentioned. Is we want to know when one of our senior bankers gets a call from one of our high value clients, they want to know right away who that is so they can respond appropriately. And from mobile, same thing. So those are great. Thank you for that.
Joy, who does Taco use?
He uses woof woof. And he's really loud, so the volume's not controlled.
That was who they used on The Office, right? Wasn't Ryan? Didn't he create a social media site called Woof, and it went to all the different social media sites? I could be wrong. You never know.
That sounds familiar.
Yes. I'm looking at the chat. There's a lot going on in my chat, you guys.
Andrew Russo wrote his college thesis in 2020. Thank you for making us gray hairs feel
on
very
telephony.
old.
You didn't need to read that.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that. So,
knock it off.
About that time, I was probably, you can put on your list Stuart, who implemented Google Voice at his small nonprofit back in the day when they first released that Google Voice Salesforce integration.
Right.
But no one wants to hire me to do that. That's silly. Don't do that.
When I graduated from college in 2002, I had to pick up the phone, put it on my shoulder, and tap like this. That was what we called telephony.
Get off my lawn.
Wait a second. Did you just say pick up the phone? You didn't actually pick up
said phone, put on shoulder.
You did not pick up the phone. You picked up the receiver.
Oh, yeah, fair. Okay, yep. Sorry. My bad.
Stuart, I picked up the phone. My phone was connected to the wall and had a nice long cord that you could only take so far.
Plus, the all right. One you had to carry around with you because it was just so cool.
Come back. Salesforce questions. Where are we? Come back.
So
there's a question in the chat. Yes.
Oh,
Daniel, is it taboo? Yes. Should it be? No.
I have good news for you though, Daniel.
Yeah.
There are salary surveys, and I don't know which one is most recent across wherever things are going on right now, but there are salary surveys available that you can get more information about this. But I don't know. 10K is. You're right, Russ. Do you have a link to the last one? Or does anyone have a link to the recent salary surveys out there? Because you should use these to your utmost advantage.
So I'm going to ask, I'm going to ask a question, not having looked at these. Also living in one of the most affordable cost of living markets in the country, but also being post-COVID where we had a lot of least affordable cost of living residents come into ours, which has kind of skewed the numbers a lot. Are any of these salary surveys doing any kind of modeling on population shifts post-COVID? Because I think that's a huge factor as well.
They should do that here down in Florida because it is like bonkers what has happened in Florida and the way that the rent and housing prices have gone ridiculously sky high and salaries have not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be incredibly grateful that I work for an organization in Boston and I just sit in Orlando. So yes.
Yeah, but salaries weren't that high in Florida anyway. My mom has lived down there over 40 years and they were never that high anyway. She took a tremendous pay cut coming from the Midwest going to Tampa. And it never, that money never came back to her. So, but yes, because she lives in a gated community that the patio homes were like 5 years ago, 179, and now they're like 350. You're talking 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a galley kitchen most of the time.
The back to work situation also is causing a little bit of let's see, I'm not going to share any personal. You already said don't share personal stuff. A fictional person in a big city in the United States has been told by their company that they must come back to work, back to the office, even if they were hired as a hybrid or remote only. Let's say that's fictional. So there's a cost to that. There's a cost for on your vehicle or buses or trains or parking. And that is what mandated. They're not paying you extra for that, my friends. And in your yearly review, that 2% raise or whatever, that's not also covering the back to work costs that you as an employer are going to also cover.
Right.
Fictionally.
I mean,
it's just this might be happening.
Right. I mean, it's super important to call out that, I mean, a lot of us were fortunate enough to be work from home before forced work from home, and we all adjusted our finances and budgets to be so. But yeah, now with RTO in a lot of places, it's we all adjusted our lives accordingly. Can you help us out if you're going to make us do this? Because we don't live to work. Like we're not happily surrendering money to then get paid money. You got to help us out here.
Yeah, but in my former life, a long time ago, I started in the transportation industry. And 1 year, I did happen to be on medical leave, but I was going back in a few weeks. But my manager called me to tell me he had I'd gotten my raise and tell me what it was, because it was raise time. It wasn't like, you got a special raise. I got $25 on the month. I just looked at it. That was 0.7%.
Not worth the time it took to give it to you.
Yeah, and I told him,
why did you torture yourself doing that math?
I just did it. But I told him you could have kept that. And he was offended. I said, you might as well have kept that. I'm the best performing person.
Yeah.
I took over an area that was really screwed up by somebody else. I was an HR rep, and I traveled 3 to 4 days a week. And I said, you should have kept that. He asked me about a few years later for LinkedIn or Facebook friend. I ignored it. F you, dude. Forget about it. So 3%, if I'd have gotten 3% then.
So all of this
salty. Pat, been there, done that. I told them, y'all spent more time than this was worth to me after taxes. Like it doesn't make any sense. You spent more money telling me about this amount than I was actually going to put in my pocket. So congratulations on a giant waste of everybody's time. And they then like documented all the reasons why I got what I got. And I'm like, I don't care. Like I'm telling you, you wasted your time. It would have been better if I just stayed flat, like just stayed.
Right. So all that to say, yes, 10K.
I used to.
I don't know, Voldemort, I know somebody said Voldemort, but
right,
yeah,
right,
Voldemort quotes went out.
The People Leader Group is working on a salary survey. I think they're going to talk about it at TDX. I don't know if they're going to publish it, but I will look into that. I know the folks that
I
I'm
know
trying.
I have one. I'll have to post it in the community. I just saw one this week that with all the other junk I got, I can't find it, you know.
Daniel, so I don't think it's taboo as much as it's usually just done in private conversations.
Yeah, because I mean, along with that, I mean, he referenced Kansas City User Group doing that, and my former co-leader Jeff Berger like moved mountains getting the data that he did. That then when it was presented, our opt-in was relatively low to it. That I saw my salary sticking out like a sore thumb, and I was like, oh, that one's pretty easy to identify. So it's like the smaller your data set, the weirder it is. You need a bigger data set, but to get a bigger data set, you have to start throwing in additional factors like regionality and where's the company based, where you based, like all these different kinds of
right.
factors.
Chicago did one too, and it was a little bit wild to see, but it might have been a slightly bigger sample, but it was a number of years ago, and we need a national and somehow like identify the regional headquarters or something. I don't even know.
And every company, every division for that matter, has their own set of titles and what pay bands those title means. Because, you know, you could ask for, I want a title promotion, and realize, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that your pay band changes. You actually might not go up in a different pay area. So it's all different.
Equal pay for equal work.
The Indianapolis User Group has one, so I'll post it here.
Pat, were you at the Indie Group meeting on Wednesday?
Yes.
Was I sitting behind you?
Were you making some Smarnellic remarks?
Of course I was.
Were you sitting with Mike? Were you sitting with Mike?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. You were sitting behind. Yeah, you were behind me and Brett.
Anyway, do we have any other questions? I love the salary chat. But like we don't have all the data. We can't really and I'm not a hiring manager. So any other questions? No one was stumped this week. I don't believe any of you. Pat, you have a question? What do you got?
Zimba, have any job any ends on any good SF jobs? I'm looking for a job. Okay. I'm admin, CPQ, BA certified.
I'd say ride that CPQ.
I don't know.
Ride
everybody and their brother is riding it.
Not everybody. Not everybody. That is an artistry that I am not engaging in. But so not everybody. Everyone else on the call maybe, but not me. But CPQ is special, Katie. You're absolutely right. And Russ, absolutely in demand. So Pat, hone the CPQ sword and go. No, come on. Did you guys do the Einstein 1 platform demo yet? Did you see it? Did you see it? Have you looked? Have you looked?
I need to though.
You should check it out. It's gonna knock your socks off.
Probably should. I heard it's great.
No. How about Prompt Builder? Did you guys go through the release notes? You guys, have you all been sleeping this week?
Okay, so I did the reactivity trail mix that Adam White put out there. Has anyone else done this?
No.
How the heck do you complete this thing? Because everything is checked that's there to check, and it says I'm at 82%.
Well, so sometimes a checked module will have a new node, and it looks like it's complete, but from the math, it's not. So you have to open up every one of them and see if something got slapped in.
It's just driving me nuts because I've gone through everything, and it's like, I need 100% complete. All right, I'll go through them all again.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you can open up with the arrow, the carrot, to just find the one that's not done or two that's not done or whatever. But that's
Some of
usually
the-
what I've
He's
seen.
got different articles, different videos, different links, but they don't have the. How did they know?
Yeah,
that it's done.
Right. So there's with those that are articles, you the way that they check is you just have to click the button that says I did it. And it should be just below that
Yeah.
article link,
And
right?
all of those have been clicked.
All those have been checked. They're all turned from red to green.
Yeah.
Are there
You're in line
badges?
then.
Are there badges on it? Like actual like trailhead badges tied to it?
A couple of modules.
So check those modules and make sure all the parts of the modules are done, because when they add a part to that module, it'll still stay checked because you did it. But
Okay.
those
All right, I'll
individual
go through it
modules-
again because it was driving me nuts. I just
yeah.
I like that the type A that I've done it. I want it to be marked done. So, all right, I'll check it out.
Do we have a link to that trail?
Uh,
Can you throw it in the chat for us? Squiring minds want to know.
I see what you did there.
Hey, Delete chatted that he has a reporting question.
Who?
Thank you.
Delete.
Yep, I missed that in the chat. Thanks, Todd.
Oh, Todd. Saving our tail left and
Yeah,
right.
I do have one question that came up recently. Is it possible, like, either reporting or any query that I want to know who is the account owner at the start of the month in the calendar year?
Not without implementing some kind of process that snapshots the data.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Or if you're tracking that, I mean,
Changes, field level changes.
It won't be pretty. If you're tracking the account owner changes, the reporting will be a nightmare.
Even field history tracking isn't going to get you what did this look like at a point in time. That's going to say when did it change?
Yeah.
When did it change
Snapshots
from what to what?
Snapshots moving forward.
Yeah.
And if you build it today, I would have it run on the 2nd of each month.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think, when I researched in Google too, that's where everyone suggested snapshots.
Mm-hmm.
I also looked, we use one backup for backup. So I thought of, going to my backups and see at first of the month who is the owner. But that lot of when I export that, the Excel is boom, like it's not easy. But that's like, has to be manual every month. You need to export and give it, like I was looking for something.
In theory, from your backup, you should be able to restore that snapshot in a sandbox and then run a report.
And then you can manually insert it into the snapshot object, right, Linda?
I don't know if you can. I
Why
thought
not?
that was one of the objects that maybe you couldn't.
I don't know.
I thought you could
manually
backload snapshots. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like I've made corrections about stuff that was like late to the party. Because my users didn't do what they were supposed to be doing. They're like, why is this showing up wrong? Well, because you didn't update it. So now I fix things. Cool. Does that help, Delete? I don't know.
Yeah.
So old guy with a phone hanging on the wall and hasn't quite upgraded to flip phone yet. Snapshots? Like that's a thing now?
What are you talking about, Dale? Are you poking the bear?
No, I'm making sure we're not talking about like there's a new thing called snapshots and that we're maybe missing the point of reporting snapshots.
I think we're talking about the same thing, aren't we?
Reporting snapshots requires you to aggregate data as of points in time. It's not a snapshot of your data. You have to aggregate something.
Tell us more, Dale. Tell us more.
On reporting snapshots?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, you're aggregating, grouping by something that every week, every month, every whatever into a custom object, but it's not what's your detail data, it's aggregates.
It's like
Is it
10
not?
accounts were owned by XYZ person.
Right, but I think what Delete is looking for is who owns the specific account.
Yeah.
We got really excited about that.
Well, I mean, but in theory, you could aggregate at any tier, even the original record.
Not if you have more than 2,000.
Fair. Okay, cool.
Dale, you're so freaking smart.
No, I'm not.
You
It's
could
a big limitation.
That rotary phone's working. I love it.
Yeah. So I suppose in theory, then you could create like some sort of custom big object that you're writing like actual change records too, if you wanted that sort of thing. If you wanted to stay on platform, would you do something like that?
That, or I mean,
Or just have a field, on the account where you're populating who is the owner on this date, on the first of the year each year. I don't know. I mean, that seems kind of weird to
Yeah, and it doesn't scale very well. I mean, now you got to have a field for every time you change, but that you could do that. You could create a custom history object for the account that
Related.
shows so they change it.
Or going back to Barb's point, is it at whatever frequency and time you start by querying the field history object to determine which accounts had a change, and you make a decision from there. Because like surely, if everybody loves the movie Airplane like I do, surely not every account is changing owners so freaking often that you're bogging down the history tracking object. So theoretically, like, accounts are probably keeping a pretty static ownership, and then you have when they do actually change. So if there is a change tracked that is either within or outside of whatever time frame, you leverage that data to say, these are my ones that changed. Go determine who the change was, else who is current owner was the owner at that point in time. All you're doing is creating a custom field to apply who that owner was, and a flow to run through the data, potentially. Why is that important? I guess my ask would be, why is that an important piece of information to know who owned it? Are you tracking like bonuses or compensation, or what's the why?
I do not know the why behind it. So,
Why are you doing it?
That's the question, right? Why? Because there might be a better way to solve for the challenge.
Problem. Yep.
Problems.
So for example, I mean, let's go to the problem. So we do a thing where our accounts, we track who covers them over time. And we have a custom object that does exactly this. It says from January to June, Squire had it. And then from June to March of the following year, Dale had it. And then we can do an analytics to say who had management of this while certain things were happening. But we had to create a custom object because of the intent, not because we just wanted to know that change.
Right. That's fair.
I mean, raise your hand if you were told to do something without the reason why, right? I mean, Delete might be in that situation, but but it's always valuable to ask the question too, right?
Squire would be a reason why, but I don't know. Like, it came to the other admin, so I'm just...
Yeah, no, and I mean, if you were fortunate enough to get the why, that might help us peel it back a little bit more. But totally understand if you don't have the why.
So. Squire, I have a question about account teams, because I don't work on the sales side very much. I work on the service side. So
Stuart.
Hello?
And Christine. Questions, but you can cut in line, I guess.
No.
It's part of the solution. Account team is part of the solution.
About this thing is, if I was using account teams, does that track changes in the account teams?
No.
Like, so Dale is the primary on the account team, and then he switches over to now Squire. It's March 1st, and now Squire's the primary on the account team. Is that tracked somewhere?
No. And I realize we say we should, like, we have to be professional on a recorded line or whatever. So Salesforce,
I'm asking a question. I'm just asking a professional question.
Account team members is still one of the most underloved objects in the entire platform, because I think that absolutely, if you have implemented them, that absolutely could be a winning part of the solution.
Yeah, because we could use that to say who's owning it. It'd be well, whoever's in primary in the account team. That's who's owning it right now. That'd be mine, but maybe I can't do it that way because I don't know enough about Salesforce.
Yeah, I mean, so we've done things where we put start end dates on that object to try to track it over time, but because it grants access on top of just being a list of people associated, it kind of breaks down too. So
I think, yeah. I mean, I think if you needed to do something like right now, Delete, to track it, field history tracking is your main ingredient, but then you derive from any of that data what the world looked like on each count on whatever date. Like you wouldn't be able to get it directly from field history tracking. You'd have to make inferences from it.
So when you say, and I can get from the field history, I can get who changed, but there is scenarios like there is no change on that account. For that, how do I do that? So
right. If there are no history tracking records that say owner was changed from A to B on what date, you can say whoever the owner is now has always been the owner. Therefore, they were the owner at this point in time if the account existed then.
So I need to pull all the accounts and into Excel, do some VLOOKUPs, remove these accounts, and do all that magic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, Allison is next.
So initially my question was going to be about Classy Live, and Salesforce integration, but I changed it after talking to you guys and hearing the word territories. Because we desperately need to put territories into our system, because right now it's a mess. So I'm wondering how easy territories is to set up, and who's had experience with it, and if it really works.
I'm going to hold my tongue because I don't have a positive response, but someone else has had to have done this, right? Dale went on mute. He's so frustrated with territories he can't even speak.
I've never actually. I have a pretty vast history with territories, just not in Salesforce, so I can't speak to it.
Okay, so if you weren't going to use territories, are there other options that'll work better? Because right now we have 29 sites all across the United States, and we have a lot of turnover because I work for a nonprofit, so we have a lot of turnover. So what happens is opportunities get lost and contacts get lost because they're connected to somebody who has left the organization. So trying to figure out the best way.
I love the comments in chat. Yes, territories totally do work, and they are there for a reason. And I'm not going to say anything bad about territories because I'm a professional here. However, the times that I've seen territories used in the real world, they have been highly customized, and workarounds have been put into place because everyone has their special way that businesses want to use them and put them into place.
Okay.
But it sounds more like your issue is what's your process when someone is no longer an active user in the org, rather than really needing territories. You need a process around how do you deal with records that are owned by people who are being inactivated.
Yes. So that is it, Linda. So what happens is if I work in the Orlando office and I leave, all of my contacts and my accounts and opportunities are just kind of sitting out there because we don't have an account team or anything like that that can take over ownership of those accounts, contacts, and opportunities. So any suggestions anybody has would be incredibly helpful.
Create a better process. So, but first off, freeze those people, that person, so that people can't, so nothing can be changed. Create some processes around their accounts, as in who decides who gets what account first off, and then how often are those accounts swapped around? Which
they're only swapped around if the person leaves. I mean, or if somebody changes roles or things like that.
So do you have for each salesperson or whoever, do you have a list of accounts that they have that you could say, I could say to you, Allison, person 20, how many accounts do they have and who are they?
No, not really.
So that's kind of like you have to get all of them organized first before you can create a process. So you need to know how many ever salespeople that you have, what are their accounts, and then you can create a process as to what to do when they leave, maternity leave, paternity leave, whatever, to work those accounts.
Okay.
Because I think, I mean, like territories could solve your problem, but it creates others, right? Like you got to remember how big and impactful territory implementation is and what it does other than just allow you to kind of queue accounts and opportunities. So understanding the intended outcome of a departure should then help you go to what Pat was talking about, which is that, oh, you know, this is just a process, or this is a report, or maybe there's even just you can't deactivate someone until everything they own has been reassigned. You know, things like that are going to help you in the long run. Territory still might be the way to do it, but I think you've hit that switch. And coming from someone who implemented territory version 1, where you couldn't turn it off and you were stuck with it, super paranoid about that. It's not like that anymore, but I think there's a process to conversation. Pat's right on track, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Contract. We got 10 minutes and 2 more, I think. Christy was up next.
No, mine wasn't a question though. Mine was only a hey, a share if there's no questions. So I think Andrew should go next.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Andrew.
Question about a flow for an approval process. I guess what I'm trying to achieve, have a approval process with about 15 steps. There's multiple entry points depending on what you're doing with the record. It's a custom object. So what I'm trying to do, since I can't do field status updates, so if it goes from step 1 to step 2 to update the status with a field update, I'm trying to get the status from a flow, which seems to be somewhat successful, but not completely successful. So I'm curious, since I couldn't find anything how to do this online, I'm assuming I'm going down the wrong path, but wanted to get your thoughts on how you would achieve that. So basically, I just need the record status to match the approval status.
Well, I'm trying to remember the old days. Weren't you able to do field updates in approval flows?
Yeah, I can do the field updates in the approval flow. That's fine. But the thing is, the logic, it doesn't always go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. It could go from 1 to 4 or 4 to 8. And you can't do conditional field updates.
Do you have your logic mapped out?
Yes.
Physically somewhere, okay?
Yeah, I mean, the approval process is set up, that part's fine. The complicated part is just getting the record status to match the approval status.
It's a weird question. Why does the record status have to match the approval status? They're actually different things, right? Like the approval has its own status. The record it's tied to has its own unique status. They might have like coincidental values, but I don't think you should combine the two.
Different things are going to happen based on the different steps of the approval process.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you're seeing the chat, Katie and I are talking about orchestration. Orchestration does this really well, but it's expensive. So it's probably not your first choice, but it does handle this really well. Let's see here.
That's different than the flow orchestration, that new.
Yeah,
flow
orchestrator is its own thing. It's tied to the flow engine, but orchestration is something totally different.
Oh, got it.
It's flow and approval on steroids, really. Boy, this is a good one. Is this a classic approval? Like, has it been around since before you converted?
No, this is a new
one. Okay, cool.
New process, yeah. Yeah, it's one custom object, and it's basically a choose your own adventure, depending on what you select initially, it determines the approval path, but there's multiple ways in and there's multiple ways out.
Boy, I feel like this is doable with that approval, and I'm just trying. I'm typing all over it. Anybody wants to jump in and help? Doesn't just have to be me, but I feel like this is doable with your approval. It's just a matter of configuring it appropriately. Is it it's entirely a flow, or are you using approval and having the approval trigger a flow?
I am just trying to set up the flow to get it to achieve that. But
Sure.
if you can do it all with the approval process, I didn't think there was a way to do conditional field updates though.
Well, you're not really. What you're doing is you're saying when X happens, the condition is your entry criteria. It's not a conditional change. So you have to have something to say. I don't know if this is exactly right, but like you'd have to have something that says when your approval process interview changes from A to Z, that flow triggers, and that you can have that flow have all those decision elements to just like the conditionality is about having a decision point, not about having a conditional actual update, if I'm understanding what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah. I think I see where you're getting at.
Can you trigger the flow on the approval workflow records?
Can you trigger the flow?
I don't think so. Can you? Can you access those approval workflow objects from the flow builder? Because that would be how you'd sneak up on it, I think, is you'd say every time an approval workflow record.
Yeah, I'm able to find the approval process instance and find the process instance step. The problem seems to be it's running one step behind. Like if it's going from step 3 to step 4, and I'm saying only find the approval process that matches the same record ID and find the process instance step that is pending, it's sending out the previous step before. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with the way the approval is triggering in the order of operations, but I couldn't find anything about that.
The order of operation, your order of execution is your friend. That very well could be that. I'm trying. Isn't there something unique about the way approvals hit those steps? Where's our golden link, Dale? Let's see here.
Because I guess the question is with approvals, I mean, is the approval process broken down step by step in the order of execution, or is an approval process just one step?
Approval process is multiple steps.
No, I'm sorry, within the context of the order of execution.
Oh, sorry.
No, I know it's a wiggly question.
Because it might be a situation where rather than triggering your flow on a field update, it might be, let's see here. I want to say this. So it's not on the field update itself as much as like after completion. Like it's almost like an after save flow. You might have to pass to the flow the record that you're acting on, and the potential, like it might be like a before commit. So you're saying, hey, update the record based on what's in the flow or in the approval, but the approval hasn't actually committed itself yet, right? Yeah, this one feels like we could do some deep diving on it. And we're running out of time quickly.
So for what it's worth,
Daniel's got something. Sorry, go ahead, Dale.
Just really quickly, for what it's worth, on the HTML page, not the, I love this graphic a lot more, but the letters APPROV don't appear anywhere on the trigger and order of execution page in help and training, for whatever that's worth. To be able to gauge where it would, if it triggers a flow, if it can trigger a flow, like how that would all work. Approvals are not referenced on that page. That's the silence of me either really helping or really hurting the situation by saying that.
Yeah.
And we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah. So I think where this breaks down a little bit, and we need some time to think on it, is like, so if the flow is triggering on an approval, that's not actually trying to find the approval process in this order of execution, because in theory, it's really like the approval flow itself, the approval process record is step one of this picture, right? It's not, we changed custom object. When does the approval process trigger in this order of execution? So like there's a little bit of like double negative there. Would you be so kind? Would you kind of write this up in the success community, like enough details so that we can circle back and as a group kind of crowdsource some answers for you, and then maybe we can come back in 2 weeks and talk about it more because we ran out of time.
That'll work.
And there's lots of also smart people that are just on the success community that someone might have an idea already that can answer it before we can get to it. So
cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. Sorry. All right. With that, we lost Dale. Dale had to go. I think we're calling it quits, huh? Oh, Joy's got some goodbyes.
Dale stand in. That's all. That's all. We just needed someone to stand in for Dale because we like Dale.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we'll just close it up here, right? We'll thank everyone for coming, for participating, for asking hard questions, for playing along and having some fun commentary. And we all support each other, and we're all in this together. So keep up the good work, Joy.
There's one more thing.
Joy's got the fancy Astro.
It's so big. Katie, you were late. You were late. Look how big.
Oh, dang.
TDX
Astro on steroids.
If you're at TDX and you see me and I am completely oblivious, give me some context, help me out, throw a cookie in my general direction. I probably need food. I'm excited. I promise.
Food on me.
And because of you, I ordered 2 of them, just so you know, Joy.
All right, Joy, are you going to be on video at TDX? Am I going to see you? Because I'm going to be watching on Salesforce Plus.
I don't know if they're recording my session.
Ooh.
Are you in a theater or in a breakout?
They do. They don't record the community codes.
I can talk to anyone about that anytime. And Stuart, you know all the stuff about that one.
But I still love seeing you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're like a wonderful
Someone
beam
said
of light.
Someone said there's a blip in like one of the opening videos, but I haven't spotted myself yet. But that's because I don't know what I look like. Anyway, thanks for showing up, everybody. Squire, hey Squire.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Hall of Fame, dude.
Yeah. High five.
Guys. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Bye.
We couldn't have done it without you.
You and me both.
I don't know how Katie did that. That was weird. She did this and then a heart showed up. That's
did it?
Nailed it.
Yeah. The reaction.
I got nothing but love for you all.
There's
That's freaking me out a little bit.
in the reactions, it asks you if it wants to read hand gestures. And
Really?
Astro's in the way. Astro's fleshy face is in the way.
Weird.
Astro's scratchy. All right. Bye,
Yeah.
friends.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Bye. You don't have to go home, but you can't. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. I always hate